The prodigal son does not leave his father's house to go and do wickedness. He leaves his father's house to go and explore life. He sees himself worthy and capable of handling whatever comes about by way of what he has gathered of himself thus far in leaving his father's house. And his father sees him as capable, lest he wouldn't have given him the money. But he doesn't know what will come next. He's been sheltered by way of the experiences and the structure that has been put in place while within his father's house. Surely he's built himself up as a man enough to feel capable of going out into the world, and his father must feel as if it's necessary. Every man and every woman must go it alone. But his father says, I'm going to give you what you asked for. I'm not going to let you leave here empty. The prodigal son would take from his father his inheritance, feeling deeply convicted that he could multiply it. That whatever would come upon him in his life, he would be able to keep a certain amount set aside to always sustain him. But in this story, the prodigal son would make mistakes. He would come into environments that he never was able to come into. He would be surrounded by people that would have normally would have limited access to him. He get caught in a web that he knew nothing of. And he would give all that his father sacrificed for nothing. And out of shame, he would deal with things that would be beneath him as a punishment to himself, as a self-chastisement. Also, that he doesn't have to go before his father. He has a vision of himself going before his father as the champion son, the son that made it out of whatever came before him, the son that lived up to the expectation. The son that lived up to the expectation, not because he wants to psych himself out as that, not just because he has a vision of him being that and he wants to live up to that vision, but because he knows he can. But have you ever been in a situation that is far beyond your want? And because of that, he will wrestle with things that anybody else would have given up on, would have quit. Just so that he doesn't have to go before his father and feel disappointment. He holds himself to such a regard that he will deal with whatever. He will wrestle with whatever, just so that he does not have to feel as if he has disappointed. And after a season of this, of eating the husks that the swine were fed, after living in ways that were completely contradictory to how he was raised, after a season of being seen in such a low capacity, the Bible says, verse 17, and he came to himself and said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? Have you ever been around people that don't know anything of you outside of what they see when they meet you in that season? Have you ever been around people that only know you from that space, whatever that space may be? And they treat you at that capacity. The prodigal son is in a situation where he squandered all of his resources. He's in a foreign land. And he's in a bad situation, so bad that he needs to go work for some stranger, a Gentile, feeding his pigs. Something that he was never surrounded by. It would be abominable in his daily life at his father's house. But because he's so far away from his father's house, he's behaving in ways that he would never behave as or in, because nobody knows him. And at first it's fun, ain't it? You leave and you go on this monumental journey, and at first it's fun, and you're like, oh wow, I get to fit in with these people, even though I know my parents would never agree with it, or even though I know God would never agree with it. I'm going to go hang out over here and learn this. It's fun. Until you've got to depend on that. Now you get to see how that really feels about you. You see, it's always great to deal with people or situations when you've got resources, because then you have the luxury of dealing with it when you feel like it. And people look upon you a certain way. You're not a liability. You're not a burden to them. So they look at you and they deal with you at a certain level, but you let your situation change. Friend. Be in a situation where you need people. Be in a situation where they see you eating the husks that the pigs eat. And now they begin this hierarchical, judgmental way with you, where they want to categorize you and they want to treat you in a way that is not conducive to who you are. And after a season of this, of observing, experiencing mistreatment, misjudgments, ridicule, rebuke, rejection, lies, you'll say to yourself, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare while I perish with hunger? I don't have to starve like this. I don't ever have to be ashamed to tell my Father that I made mistakes. Surely I probably could have handled things better. And if I sat down in front of the fire with my dad during the proper seasons, I can explain all that has transpired. And he will understand. Let me get up and go home. Let me go home. There's no reason for me to sit here and try to fix this. I can't fix this. But I can go home. And I will arise and go to my father, and I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee.